The iron gates swing open at 4:23 a.m. Federal agents pour through. Black SUVs. Armored vehicles. 71 agents armed with warrants and 18 months of evidence. Behind those gates sits a mansion worth $47 million. 37,000 square feet of Italian marble and crystal chandeliers. The home of Vincent Castellano, the most powerful talent agent in the modeling industry. A man who launched 1,000 careers. A man who made dreams come true. Except he didn't make dreams come true. He buried them. 28 young women, missing for months or years, are about to be found in hidden chambers beneath his estate. This isn't a story about ambition gone wrong. This is a story about a predator who built an empire on stolen lives. Vincent Castellano represented over 300 working models. His agency generated $200 million annually. He attended the Met Gala. He sat front row at Paris Fashion Week. He had lunch with editors of Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. And beneath his mansion, he kept women locked in rooms designed to break their spirits while preserving their beauty. Because beauty was the product. And Vincent Castellano was very good at his business. Comment accountability if you're still watching. The investigation began with a single photograph, posted anonymously on a dark web forum in September 2021. The image showed a young woman, blonde, early 20s, angular features, haunted eyes. She was posed against wallpaper with a custom pattern. Analysts ran the pattern through databases. It matched wallpaper manufactured for only one address in Beverly Hills. The woman in the photo had a name. Emily Hartman. Age 20 when she disappeared. From Cedar Rapids, Iowa. 3 years earlier, she told her family she was traveling to Los Angeles. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with a major modeling agency. Then silence. Special Agent Rebecca Santos had tracked human trafficking networks for 12 years. When the Emily Hartman photo crossed her desk, something felt different. The quality was too professional. The setting too sophisticated. This wasn't a basement kidnapping. This was calculated. Santos ran facial recognition. She pulled missing person reports. She found Emily's file from Iowa, closed after 6 months, categorized as voluntary disappearance. Police assumed she'd cut ties with her family and started over. They were wrong. Santos started digging. Emily Hartman wasn't alone. Over 15 years, 47 young women disappeared after contact with Castellano International. 47. Small towns across the Midwest. Suburbs of major cities. Rural communities where scouts appeared at local beauty pageants and identified girls with the look. The pattern repeated. Initial contact. Invitation to audition. Travel to Los Angeles. Then nothing. Families filed reports. Police closed cases. The girls were adults. They made choices. Except they didn't. The deeper Santos went, the clearer the system became. Castellano ran 2 pipelines. One was legitimate. Real models with real careers. Magazine covers. Runway shows. Advertising campaigns worth millions. The other pipeline fed something else. Girls without industry connections. Girls whose families couldn't afford private detectives. Girls who wouldn't trigger alarms when they vanished. These girls were groomed. Offered opportunities that seemed real until they weren't. By the time they realized what was happening, they were already trapped. Tap-like for justice. Santos spent 8 months building the case. She obtained financial records showing payments through shell companies. Golden Harvest Holdings. Crimson Sky Enterprises. Pacific Talent Solutions. Money flowing to accounts in the Cayman Islands, Panama, British Virgin Islands. She traced wire transfers. March 14th, $83,000. April 22nd, $91,000. May 30th, $104,000. The amounts varied but the pattern held. Payments went overseas to buyers willing to pay premium prices for access to women who had disappeared without proper investigation. She interviewed former employees under immunity. They described practices that troubled them. Girls arriving at the mansion for photo shoots and never leaving. Scouts instructed to target specific types. Blonde. Angular features. No strong family ties. One former photographer, Marcus Chen, age 34, testified that he'd been hired to shoot content in a basement studio. The studio had soundproofed walls and cameras everywhere. The models seemed afraid. When Chen asked questions, he was told the models signed confidentiality agreements. When he kept asking, his contract was terminated. He stayed quiet for 2 years. Then Santos knocked on his door. Santos cultivated an inside source. Maria Elena Gutierrez, age 46, worked as a housekeeper at the mansion for 7 years. She cleaned rooms most staff never entered. She saw locked doors in the basement. She heard sounds at night. Crying. Voices begging. She asked the head of security, Robert Sullivan, age 52, what was behind those doors. Sullivan told her to focus on her job. He said if she spoke about what she heard, Immigration and Customs Enforcement would be notified about her expired work visa. Maria stayed silent until federal agents offered her immunity and protection. International agencies helped Santos track the buyers. Wealthy men in Dubai, government officials in Shanghai, businessmen in London. They paid through encrypted platforms for access to live streams. 4 custom photo sets. For women whose faces appeared in marketing materials that promised exclusive content unavailable anywhere else. The platforms used cryptocurrency. They required verification that buyers could afford the prices. Entry-level access started at $50,000 annually. Premium memberships cost $200,000. The highest tier, reserved for buyers willing to pay for physical access, started at $500,000. Share if you refuse silence. The raid was planned like a military operation. Santos coordinated with FBI tactical teams, local SWAT, and specialists from agencies that handle trafficking and organized crime. The timing was critical. Intelligence confirmed Castellano would be at the mansion on March 8, 2024. Entry points were mapped. Contingencies planned. Medical personnel positioned nearby to treat victims whose conditions were unknown. Everything had to work perfectly. One mistake and Castellano might destroy evidence. Or worse, harm the women he held captive. At 4:23 a.m., the convoy rolls through the iron gates. 71 federal agents. 14 vehicles. 4 battering rams. The front door of the mansion is solid oak, custom-made, worth $80,000. The ram swings once. The door explodes inward. Agents flood the house. Rooms on the main floor are empty. Second floor, empty. Third floor, they find Vincent Castellano in his bedroom. He's awake, sitting at his laptop, frantically deleting files. Agent Santos enters the room. Castellano looks up. No fear. Just cold calculation. His first words aren't "what's happening," or "there's been a mistake." His first words are, "Who talked?" Not denial. Not confusion. Immediate awareness that his operation has been compromised. Santos places him in handcuffs. Castellano remains calm. "You're making a terrible mistake," he says. "My lawyers will have this dismissed before lunch." It's the confidence of a man who has operated above the law for decades. A man who believes money and connections make him untouchable. He's about to learn otherwise. While agents secure Castellano, forensic teams search the mansion. They find the wine cellar on the lower level. It contains bottles worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rare vintages. Collectibles. At the back of the cellar, behind racks of Bordeaux and Burgundy, is a wall. Agents examine it. One notices the temperature control panel is slightly off-center. Not by much. Just enough. They press buttons in sequence based on codes found in Castellano's laptop. The wall clicks. It swings open. Behind it, a staircase descends into darkness. Agent Santos goes down first. Flashlight cutting through the black. At the bottom, a corridor stretches in both directions. Doors line the walls. 30 doors. Each with a number. Each with a lock on the outside. The first door opens into a photography studio. Professional lighting. Multiple camera setups. Backdrops in various colors. On the walls, photographs. Hundreds of them. Young women in poses ranging from fashion-adjacent to degrading. Some photos are dated. The earliest is from 2008. 16 years of operation. The next room is different. Living quarters. A bed. A bathroom. A small television mounted to the wall. Surveillance cameras in every corner. No windows. No way out except the locked door. Inside the room, a woman sits on the bed. She's blonde. Early 20s. When the flashlight hits her, she doesn't move. Just stares. Agent Santos identifies herself as FBI. "You're safe," Santos says. "We're here to help you. What's your name?" The woman doesn't respond. Her eyes are blank. 3 years of captivity have taught her not to hope. They open the next door. Another woman. Then another. 28 women total. Ages 19 to 34. Held for periods ranging from 4 months to 11 years. Emily Hartman is in room 17. She's alive but unrecognizable from her photos. 3 years underground have carved lines into her face and shadows into her eyes. When Santos tells her she's being rescued, Emily doesn't speak. Doesn't cry. Doesn't react. Her mind can't process information that contradicts everything she's been conditioned to believe. Medical teams rush in. The women are brought upstairs into daylight. Some shield their eyes. Some collapse. Some cling to rescuers. Several require immediate hospitalization. Malnutrition. Untreated infections. Injuries that healed wrong without medical care. All require psychological evaluation. The trauma is severe. Systematic abuse designed to break resistance while maintaining physical appearance. Because damaged goods don't sell. And Vincent Castellano was running a business. The search of the mansion takes 14 hours. Structural engineers find hidden passages. Forensic technicians collect evidence from every surface. K-9 units trained to detect concealed chambers sweep the property. They find a second studio in a separate wing. They find storage rooms containing costumes and props. They find filing cabinets with records dating back to 2008. Patient files, Castellano called them. Each woman had a file. Name, age, measurements, photos taken at recruitment, photos taken after arrival, notes on compliance, notes on resistance, notes on buyers who expressed interest. It reads like inventory management. Because that's what it was. Digital forensics recover data from Castellano's laptop despite his attempts to delete it. The files include spreadsheets tracking revenue by victim. Emily Hartman generated $1.3 million over 3 years. Another woman, Jessica Thornton, held for 7 years, generated $2.8 million. The spreadsheets list expenses too: food, medical supplies, security, maintenance of the underground complex. Net profit over 16 years, $47 million. $47 million built on the suffering of 73 women. Because the 28 found in the mansion weren't the only victims. Records show at least 45 others cycled through the operation. Some were sold to buyers overseas. Some were released with threats ensuring silence. Some died in captivity. Emily Hartman was 20 years old when she disappeared. From Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Population 67,000. She won local beauty pageants. Attracted attention from scouts who promised the right connections could make her a star. The scouts worked for Castellano International. They told Emily she had potential. They said Vincent Castellano wanted to meet her personally. They bought her a plane ticket to Los Angeles. First class. They arranged a car service from the airport. A black Mercedes. Emily called her mother from the airport. "I'm here, Mom. This is really happening. I'll call you after the meeting." That was July 19, 2021. Her mother, Patricia Hartman, age 52, never heard from her daughter again. Patricia filed a missing person report on July 26 after Emily didn't return calls for a week. Cedar Rapids police investigated. They contacted Castellano International. A representative, Thomas Kessler, age 49, told police that Emily attended one meeting but wasn't selected for representation. He said she seemed disappointed. He said she mentioned wanting to stay in Los Angeles and try other agencies. Police found no evidence of foul play. Emily was an adult. She made a choice. Case closed after 6 months. Except Emily didn't make a choice. The meeting was real. Vincent Castellano was there. So was Robert Sullivan, head of security. They offered Emily a contract. Exclusive representation. Immediate placement in a major campaign. 6-figure earnings in the first year. All she had to do was sign. Emily signed. Then Sullivan offered to drive her to a hotel where the agency kept apartments for new talent. Emily got in the car. Sullivan didn't drive to a hotel. He drove to the mansion. He brought Emily through a side entrance, down to the basement, into a room. He locked the door. Emily screamed, pounded on the door. No one came. That was her first night in captivity. 1,095 nights followed. Patricia Hartman never stopped looking. She hired a private detective who found nothing. She contacted journalists who wrote articles that generated no leads. She joined advocacy groups for families of missing persons. She attended conferences. She learned about human trafficking patterns. She suspected her daughter was a victim. But she had no proof. No evidence. Just a mother's instinct that something terrible had happened. On March 8, 2024, at 6:47 p.m., Patricia received a call from Agent Rebecca Santos. "We found your daughter. She's alive. She's safe." Patricia collapsed. Her husband, James Hartman, age 54, caught her. They drove through the night from Cedar Rapids to Los Angeles. 16 hours straight. They arrived at the hospital where Emily was being treated. When Patricia saw her daughter, she didn't recognize her. Not at first. 3 years had changed Emily in ways a photograph couldn't capture. Emily didn't speak for 6 weeks after rescue. Therapy, medical treatment, psychiatric evaluation. Nothing broke through. Then one morning, she looked at her mother and said, "I'm sorry." 2 words. Patricia asked what she was sorry for. Emily said, "For believing them. For getting in the car. For not fighting harder." Patricia held her daughter and told her none of it was her fault. That she was a victim. That she survived. That survival was enough. Emily started talking after that. Slowly. Haltingly. She described the room. The cameras. The photography sessions she was forced to participate in. The threats if she didn't comply. The isolation. The years of believing no one was looking for her. The despair that became her constant companion. 27 other women shared similar stories. Different details. Same pattern. Recruited with promises. Isolated. Exploited. Broken. Sarah Chen, age 24, from Portland, Oregon, was held for 9 months. She was recruited at a shopping mall by a woman claiming to be a scout for a major agency. The woman gave Sarah a business card. Castellano International. Sarah called the number. She attended an audition. She was selected. They told her she needed professional photos. They arranged a shoot at the mansion. Sarah never left. Marcus Washington's wife, Tanya, isn't part of this story. But she could have been. Different industry. Same pattern. Predators identify vulnerable people. They offer opportunities. They isolate. They exploit. The methods vary, but the core remains the same. Trust is weaponized. Hope becomes a trap. And by the time victims realize what's happening, escape is nearly impossible. Vincent Castellano was 63 years old at the time of his arrest. Silver hair. Patrician features. Silk pajamas that cost more than most Americans earned in a month. He didn't resist. Didn't flee. Didn't express anything except contempt. During interrogation, Agent Santos laid out the evidence. Financial records. Victim testimony. Digital files recovered from his laptop. Castellano said nothing. His lawyer, David Morrison, age 57, from one of the most prestigious firms in Los Angeles, advised him to remain silent. Castellano followed the advice. He never confessed. Never showed remorse. Never acknowledged the humanity of the women he exploited. The investigation revealed the full scope of the operation. Castellano didn't work alone. He had employees. Robert Sullivan, head of security, handled recruitment and transportation. Thomas Kessler, agency representative, managed communications with families and police. Marcus Chen, photographer, documented victims for buyers. Dr. Alan Foster, age 56, plastic surgeon, performed procedures on captives without asking questions about their circumstances. Richard Hayes, age 42, technology executive, built the encrypted platform where Castellano marketed his products. Each played a role. Each received compensation. Each enabled the suffering of 73 women. The arrests continued over 18 months. 37 people charged in connection with the operation. Photographers, web designers, security personnel, medical staff, customers who paid for access through the platform, industry figures who heard rumors but chose not to investigate. The complicity extended far beyond Castellano himself. The network required infrastructure. It required people willing to ignore warning signs, to not ask questions, to prioritize profit over humanity. The trial began 2 years after the arrests. Federal courthouse in Los Angeles. Security was intense due to media attention. The prosecution presented evidence filling over 40,000 pages. Financial records, photographs, intercepted communications, testimony from survivors who found courage to face their abuser in open court. The defense, led by David Morrison and a team of attorneys charging rates exceeding $1,000 per hour, argued that Castellano was a successful businessman framed by competitors. That law enforcement was building careers on sensational prosecutions. The strategy failed. Survivor testimony was devastating. Emily Hartman took the stand. She described her recruitment, the meeting with Castellano, the moment she realized she was trapped, the 3 years in captivity, the photography sessions, the threats, the despair. She spoke for 47 minutes. The jury wept. The gallery wept. The judge wiped tears from her eyes. 27 other women testified. Each story unique. Each story part of a pattern. By the time testimony concluded, the jury had heard more than anyone should have to hear about the capacity for human cruelty. The guilty verdicts came back in less than 4 hours. Vincent Castellano was convicted on 189 counts. Human trafficking, kidnapping, forced labor, production and distribution of exploitative material, money laundering, racketeering. The speed of the verdict reflected the overwhelming evidence. Robert Sullivan convicted on 73 counts. Thomas Kessler on 52 counts. Dr. Alan Foster on 37 counts. Richard Hayes on 61 counts. Each faced decades in prison. At sentencing, Judge Maria Rodriguez, age 59, delivered remarks that captured something essential about the nature of the crimes. The defendant did not merely exploit his victims, she said. He erased them. He took young women full of hope and dreams and promise and reduced them to products to be photographed and sold. He stole not just their freedom but their very identities, their sense of themselves as human beings worthy of dignity and respect. No sentence can restore what he took. No punishment can balance the scales. This court can only ensure that he will never again have the opportunity to harm another person. The sentence was 12 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole. Maximum allowed under federal guidelines. Castellano received it without visible emotion. Same mask of contempt. He was transferred immediately to a maximum security federal penitentiary. He would spend his remaining years in a cell far more humane than the rooms he forced his victims to occupy. The disparity troubled many who followed the case. Whether true justice was possible for crimes of such magnitude remained an open question. But the women survived. That's what matters. Emily Hartman returned to Cedar Rapids after 2 years of treatment. Her parents welcomed her with love that helped begin the process of rebuilding. She didn't return to modeling. Couldn't imagine returning to an industry weaponized against her. Instead, she found purpose in advocacy work. Speaking at schools, community organizations, testifying before Congress. Her testimony contributed to the passage of the Safe Modeling Act, signed into law on June 15, 2024. The act required background checks for agency representatives, mandatory reporting of suspicious recruitment patterns, strengthened protections for models working in the industry. It passed the Senate 94-6, the House 412-18. It was named after Emily and the 27 other survivors. The mansion was seized by the federal government. Contents auctioned to raise funds for victim services. The structure eventually demolished. The underground complex filled with concrete. The gardens above cleared and replaced with a memorial park. It bears the names of the 28 women rescued from captivity. Plaques commemorate those whose fate remains unknown. A sculpture at the center depicts a woman breaking chains, her posture vulnerable and triumphant. her face lifted toward a sky she had been denied. The sculptor, herself a survivor of trafficking though not from Castellano's operation, described the work as representation of resilience rather than victimhood. Agent Rebecca,